Hello, my name is Laura Cabrerizo, and I'm the Solutions Engineer for dotCMS. You may have heard my talk a little bit earlier about dotAI search, and I'm excited to also get to tell you about workflows today. I have a few workflows that I have curated for this discussion, but I'm also going to talk about some of the other things that workflows can do. This is going to be more of a hands-on demonstration, so I'm just going to get into it. I've created this new content type called workflow examples so that I can show you exactly how a few of our different workflows run through the listing on the right-hand side of the screen. If you come over to the right-hand side of your menu, you can click on these three dots and see a listing of all of the workflows that are attached to your current process. I've created a few for this demonstration, an API connection workflow and a tagging for cats workflow. Neither of these use AI. The other workflows that I'm going to demonstrate are an AI image creation workflow, an AI create content workflow, and also I'm going to talk a little bit about how AI auto tagging works. So I'm going to create a new content type to demonstrate these different workflows. I'm just going to call this dotConnect for now, and I'm not going to fill in any of the other fields. I do want to point out for the AI image generation, you're going to need a binary field, which is a little bit different than the image field that you would normally drag and drop into your content types. We'll have more about that later. I have a text box for cat facts, I have a tags field, and I have this awesome block editor, which honestly is one of my favorite field types. So I'm just going to publish this with our title dotConnect, and then we're going to get into talking about the different workflows. All right. The first workflow I'm going to talk about is our API connection workflow. And this one is pretty nice because you can actually go out, connect to any external API, bring back information, and insert it directly into your content lit. After that, we're going to talk about tags for cats. This one actually will take a comma delimited list of terms that you have defined. It will add them into your content as tags. The AI image creation connects to dotAI, which we talked about earlier. And if you need any help setting up your dotAI in your instance, you can take a look at my series, Building Your Corner of the Web, where I have a document called Discovering AI. It is a deep dive into everything you'll need to know in order to set up dotAI in your environment. After that, we have AI auto tagging, which I'll do last, but we also have AI create content. Let's go over to our workflows listed under schema and take a look. So you can see I have the system workflow, which is always added by default, but I've taken it and created a copy called dotConnect workflow examples. In here, I've added all of our new workflow steps that you saw in that hamburger menu. So our API connection workflow, we're going to click on here, and we're going to see that it is shown on the listing, but not on editing. So what's going to happen is you're going to see it in that hamburger menu on the right, but you won't actually be able to access it when you're inside the contentlet itself. I have a show when locked, unlocked. I have new, published, and unpublished. And you can change any of these checkboxes to fit your needs. This API connection actually uses the Velocity script actionlet, and we have a lot of different actions in our sub-actions and our workflows. So a few of these, I really urge you to take a look through them. Four Eyes approval is pretty great because when you create content and you hit publish, if you have this enabled, it'll actually send it to another editor to get approval before it gets published. So it's a great way to make sure that you're not publishing content that you don't want other people to see out there. Our AI different workflows, which I'll go over quite a few of those. We have some adding comments, copying a contentlet. This one's pretty cool because say that you wanted to move content from one site to another. You have a multi-site implementation. One of them has content in a foreign language. You can actually copy the contentlet. You can go down and use our translate content to translate that contentlet into whatever language you want to display it in. You can move it with this workflow action. And then you can actually delete it on the original environment to keep everything clean and separated. And so that's one of the ways that you can chain a lot of these sub actions in order to accomplish your needs easily, succinctly, and without a lot of trouble. Let's see, send from email, send an email. Those are really great. Like if you were to publish a content, you could have it fire a workflow action that sends an email whenever it gets published so that you know when things are going. I had the idea, the thought possibly of sending my boss an email every single time I generated a new cat fact, but I held off. It was hard. It was hard. So, anyhow, for this specific action to create an API connection, we're going to hit the velocity script actionlet. I've already added it in, so I'm not going to click it now. But if we go into here, you can see that I'm actually parsing a VTL file. And then if we go to application VTL workflows API workflow example.vtl, cancel that. Let's go over to our site manager. We can see it in here. You can see that I am sending a JSON fetch out to this website called catfact.ninja, which is a great little website. It's open source. It's free to connect to. You can test your APIs with it, and then it'll come back with the result. After you receive your results, you can content.setProperty on the variable for that text box with the result that was returned. And what that'll do is it'll insert the information that was gathered from your API directly into your contentlet. One thing I do want to point out, and I learned this the hard way, is that you cannot use the word response as your variable because it is a protected word and your API calls will not work. So avoid using the word response. All right, let's go back over to our workflow. Once we're back in our workflow, you can see that after this actionlet is called, we're going to lock that content, save it, and then unlock it so that future editors can still have access to it. Save often is the one thing that I tell everyone. And then let's go see it in action. So we're going to go back to our workflow example contentlet. And we are going to come over here to our hamburger menu, and we're just going to hit API connection. Our workflow is executed. And remember, that was empty before. There was no other text boxes that we filled in. We only added a title. So we're going to go in here to dotConnect. And we're going to see that it has added a new cat fact in our text box. Great. We're going to publish that and move on. The next workflow we have is called tags for cats. And so let's go over to our workflows again. You can see our tag for cat step here in our workflow. Again, we have the save content and unlock content after this. It's shown on our listing and our show whens are all checked in. We are going to use the set value subaction. So what this subaction does is it allows you to take a variable that's in your contentlet and it will allow you to assign any sort of information to that. So I have a comment delimited list of terms that I would like to tag that contentlet with. I'm going to hit cancel. We are going to come back over to our workflow examples. We're going to click on the hamburger menu next to this, and then we are going to hit tags for cats. Our workflow has been executed. So we're going to come in here and we're going to click on our dotConnect contentlet, and you can see that all of these tags that I had in that comment eliminated list have been inserted into our contentlet. Say you have a blog and you have a bunch of tags that you want every single blog tagged with. This would be a great way to accomplish that. Or if you had an activity that you wanted to make sure that every single activity was tagged with the same tags, and you can create as many of these different workflow steps as you wanted. So if you had a workflow where you wanted different tags associated with a blog than you did with an activity, than you did with a product, you can create different workflow steps and have that auto tagging available to all of them. All right. So our next one on the list is AI image creation. This one does take a little bit longer because it reaches out to the AI to create a new image. So let's go over and look at that workflow. And never click on the tab the first time, ever. Let's see. AI image creation. All right. Some of these workflows will only work on the listing. They will not work when editing. And when that happens, editing will be grayed out. So a lot of our AI sub-actions are only available during the listing step. If you look through your sub-actions, you'll come down here, you'll find the AI generate image. This does utilize dotAI. So again, you're going to have dotAI enabled in your environment in order to be able to use this. So in this sub-action, what you have are a few different fields. This first field is where you can define which binary field you would like your information to be assigned to. Now, like it says here, if you leave this blank, it's going to assign it to the first binary field on your content lit. And as you saw before, I only had one. If you want to overwrite that information, you can leave this as true. But if you don't want to, then you can change it to false. And one of the ways that this is used is if you have an entire list in your search that you click through those checkboxes and then you run AI image generation on it. If you have this set to false, what it's going to do is only generate images on those contentlets that are missing images. So if you have it set to true, it'll generate images on all of them and overwrite any images that you already have there. The next box is our prompt. This is what we're going to send to the AI in order to tell it what to create for that image. I've just sent it a general create a cute image of a white cat. But if you wanted to, you could use the dot content map, which will take all of the different fields in your content lit, and it will search through those smartly in order to create an image based off of the content that's already in your field. So if you have a blog about skis and you told it to use the dot content map, what it'll do is it'll scrape the information out of those fields and it'll create an image based on that information, an image of skis or whatever else might be in there. The update content asynchronously after 60 seconds. I set it at 60 seconds. You can set it at 0 to run it right away. I find that a little bit of delay is better. Let's get out of here. Always save. And then we're going to go back to our content and look at our workflow example. All right, so we see our dot content here. We are going to run our AI image creation on this. And like I said, it can take a hot second. So we're going to sit here and I'm probably going to cut out quite a bit of this so that it looks instant to you. This is one way that you can tell that it is finished is because it will refresh automatically all of your images here on the sidebar that were selected. So this is the only contentlet that we chose to generate an image on. We're just going to come in here and see what we got. Oh, isn't he cute? Look at him. All right, so we're going to leave him there. He looks great. You can publish, you can X out, you can do, any of those workflow steps that you decide. All right, we've already generated a few different things with workflows. We haven't typed anything in yet. The next thing we're going to do is create content. So let's go over to our workflows one more time to look at our AI create content. Again, this one only works in the listing, just like most of our AI sub-actions, and you can choose any of the other show ones that you want. So we're going to come in here to our AI content prompt. This first field lets you decide exactly which fields your AI content will generate information for. If you leave it blank, you can define those in your actual AI prompt like I have, because I'm going to have it generate more than one field. If you want to overwrite the existing content, true or false still is the same as for image generation. I'm going to have it overwrite the existing content because I want it to generate a new title for my content lit. In my instructions, I have told it to return a JSON object which right here, in case you're ever wondering, you can just look at the instructions up here and reference those. I'm going to have this return a JSON object that includes the field's title, which is the variable of my title field, and that's going to be a catchy blog title less than 100 characters. Now, if you have lengths assigned to your variables, if you have, a length on your text box or something, you need to make sure that you define it within your AI prompt because it will error if it tries to generate content that's longer than what is allowed in your text boxes or in your fields. And then I want it to generate a field all about cats, which is our block editor. I want it to give it a description about what cats are, their natural habitats, and general pet ownership information in HTML with proper headings, paragraphs, and bullet points. The reason why I'm specifically telling it that it needs to be in HTML is because if it does not insert into a block editor in HTML, it will not render correctly. So if you're using a block editor, which I highly recommend, it's one of my favorite fields, you'll want to have it in HTML with proper headings, paragraphs, the whole nine. You can decide which model you want to use. We default to GPT-4o because we use OpenAI right now, but we are working on trying to extend what kind of LLMs and models that we accept, and that's really exciting. And then the last field is your AI temperature for the response. You can set the AI temperature for the response between 0.1 and 2.0. Point 1 is going to be a very short, very non-human readable response. You're going to use something like that if you want it to generate, say, tags or one-word responses, because in this context, it would probably just return the word cat, 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 cat over and over again. If you set it all the way to 2.0, you're going to receive something that is very flowery, Shakespearean, verbose. It's probably going to be a lot. So I found that setting your temperature around 1.0 to 1.3, 1.4 tends to generate the best responses. But that's my personal preference. And of course, you can set it to whatever you'd like. So I'm going to cancel out of here. Again, always save. And then we're going to go back over to our Contentlet. Let's click on this button over here. AI create content, and we're just going to let it do its thing. Great. You can see that it's finished because it's updated the title just like we asked it to in our prompts. We're going to click on this and see what information it's generated for us. Here's our new title, The Perfect Companion, Embrace the Joys of Cat Ownership. And then it gives us information in our block editor, perfectly formatted for our headings, paragraphs, bullet points, everything that we asked for it to insert in HTML format in our prompts. You can scroll through here. You can see things about the natural habitat, caring for your cat, why cats make great pets, and just more information that the AI decided to generate for you. And you can really do this with any sort of content. It's a really great way to generate content for your patrons that'll meet their needs and expectations without a lot of overhead. And then you can always come in here and edit it later. One of the other things I really love about the block editor are just some of the other features. And I know that we weren't supposed to go over the block editor in this demonstration, but I have to show you this. So in the block editor, you can actually generate even more AI content or AI images. And this is pretty cool because I'm just going to create a quick little image based on the existing content in here because I want to add some images of cats down here into my block editor. So I'm going to click on that, and then I'm just going to come down here and hit Generate Image. So it's generated this really cute image of the life cycle of cats with some little tidbits and cats jumping and all of this great little content. So I'm just going to insert this into our block editor. And you can see here that I can have a few extra tools. I can center it. I can change the margins. I can link it out to other content. If I hit image properties, I can see the URL, title, alt text, all the fun stuff. And so that's really cool about the block editor. I'm just going to publish this and save it. And we basically created an entire contentlet just through workflows. I mean, all we really did in the beginning was give it a title because that was the required field. And then through the workflows, we created the image, we created a cat fact through our external API. We added a bunch of tags to it, and then we gave it all about cats information based on our AI content generation workflow. The only other one that I want to show you real quick is just our auto tagging. I'm not going to go back into it because you can take a look. It does the same thing as the content creation where you want to set a temperature on it, and then it'll generate tags based on that temperature and the content that's already inside of your contentlet. And as you can see here, it actually added a bunch more. It overwrote the ones that I had already added, but you can see that these tags that it added are quite a bit better than the ones that I had just typed in my comment eliminated list. So those are just a few examples of what workflows can do. They're really powerful, and I highly recommend just going into a development or sandbox environment, playing around with workflows and trying to see what you can accomplish with them, especially in tasks that are very repetitive, very redundant, just to make your lives easier and to make it so that you don't have to do as much of the manual work. Those workflows can really take care of that for you. If you have any questions, please feel free to let us know. Please take a look over the documents that I talked about earlier, the Discovering dotAI and implementing the dotAI site search. And if you need any help implementing the things that you've seen here today, we have a fantastic professional services team who would be more than happy to assist you. I hope you enjoyed this little overview of a few of the things that you can accomplish through workflows. I know there's so many more things that I could have gone over, and I hope to have more workflow examples in the future.